The phone screamed while I stood in a marble kitchen thousands of miles away. 71 missed calls, all from the same number. I watched the Alps breathe through glass taller than my old house, the snow-cut ridges clean and indifferent. The villa smelled like lemon polish and quiet money. I hadn't answered when she shouted earlier, "If you want to join Thanksgiving, come wash the dishes," her voice sharp with entitlement, the kind that assumes your hands are still available. I had replied with one word, "Enjoy." Then I sent the photos, sunlight spilling across the infinity pool, a dining table set for no one, a fireplace that swallowed logs whole and asked for more. I didn't add captions. I didn't need to. The silence afterward was immediate, then feral. Calls stacked like bodies. I let the phone keep screaming, because I wasn't in Switzerland to escape. I was there to remember who I was before they decided I was expendable, before my wife learned how to lie without blinking, before my worst enemy learned my schedule better than I knew my own heartbeat. The knife had already gone in. They just didn't know how deep yet. The first crack came months earlier, thin as a hairline fracture. A look held too long, a laugh that didn't belong to me. My name said like punctuation instead of a sentence. I noticed the way my wife started guarding her phone like it was warm-blooded, the way she spoke about him, my oldest rival, my mirror twisted wrong, with a neutrality that felt rehearsed. I told myself I was paranoid. Men my age learned to gaslight themselves for peace, but peace rots. I remembered the years I spent building everything they now stood on, the company, the house, the family dinners where I was present, but already fading into wallpaper. My daughter-in-law learned early that respect could be replaced with volume. Greed dresses itself as confidence when it thinks the inheritance is close enough to taste. I stayed quiet. Silence is a weapon when you know how to hold it. At night, my wife slept facing away from me, not dramatically, casually, like someone who had already practiced absence. That was when I stopped reaching for her and started reaching for the truth. I became meticulous. Phone records first. Not illegally. I've never needed to break rules, only read them carefully. Calls at odd hours, patterns that repeated like a signature. Deleted messages leave shadows if you know where to look. I hired a firm that specialized in discretion. Former auditors. Numbers don't lie when interrogated properly. Neither do hotel receipts that never quite reconcile with business trips. I smiled at dinners, paid for vacations, let my daughter-in-law talk down to me because she thought I was tired. Inside, I cataloged everything. The dates, the overlaps, the lies told twice with different verbs. I ordered a DNA test under the pretense of a medical study, watched my wife sign the consent without reading. That hurt more than the affair. Trust is lazier than love. Every morning I trained myself to breathe slower. Control is not the absence of rage. It is rage put on a leash so tight it bleeds. They thought I was fading. I was sharpening. The results arrived on thick paper, clinical, polite, final. I read them once, then again. Then I placed them neatly into a leather folder and went home. I didn't shout. I set the folder on the table between us like a third person invited to dinner. "Do you want wine?" I asked. She didn't answer. Her eyes were already scanning the edges, recognizing the weight of consequences. When she opened it, her breath left her body in a sound so small it almost didn't exist. Denial tried to rise, drowned immediately. My worst enemy had been thorough. Careless, but thorough. The child I raised wasn't biologically mine. The man who shook my hand at conferences had been in my bed. She cried. I nodded. Tears are noise. I was done listening. I didn't take everything from her. I took only what mattered. Control. The company restructure had already been filed. Shares transferred quietly into trusts she couldn't touch. The villa in Switzerland wasn't a vacation. It was a statement of relocation. Jurisdiction is a beautiful thing when you respect it. I invited them to Thanksgiving. All of them. My wife, my enemy, my son and his wife, still convinced the world owed them comfort. I didn't show up. Instead, I scheduled the release of documents, emails, receipts, timelines, not to the press, to the people who mattered to him. Boards don't forgive hypocrisy. Investors don't like surprises.
My daughter-in-law's voice cracked the phone earlier because she finally understood the dishes weren't the punishment, irrelevance was. Now the Alps keep their distance. They don't ask questions. They don't forgive. They simply exist. My phone has stopped ringing. I don't hate them. Hate requires attachment. What I feel is cleaner, lighter, surgical. They wanted my place at the table without understanding who built it, so I stood up. I walked away with everything that mattered intact, my name, my mind, my future, and they are left with the noise they mistook for power. I finally learned the truth. Scars don't fade, they teach.